Yes, I've started recording, Meredith. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Beady friends. I am Meredith Roddy from Beadalon and Artistic Wire, and welcome to class today. So today's class for the Michaels Community Classroom is how to properly string pearls. So we are going to be using the Beadalon knotter tool, and we are going to talk about actually knotting between pearls rather than stringing them on bead stringing wire or any other stringing material. So we're going to go over silk cord, the knotter tool, and everything A to Z for what you need to learn how to properly string pearls by knotting them. Now, I am going to also talk about a couple of different hacks that are available to you when you are stringing pearls or when you are knotting pearls. So I just want to make sure that I welcome everybody here to class, and Finn also welcomes everybody here to class as well. He is my golden retriever underneath the table, keeping my toes nice and warm. Oh, he's giving me kisses now. If you cannot hear me, make sure that your computer is not muted, because it looks like everything from this end is good. Once again, just to reiterate what Kelly said for people who are joining us now, this class is being recorded and will be available between 24 to 48 hours on the Michaels YouTube channel. So welcome. Let's all get comfortable, because we are going to cover a lot of information today. Just as a little bit of a refresher, there is a class called How to Repurpose Old Jewelry, which talks about a slightly different technique for stringing pearls. That's more of kind of the traditional reaming out your beads using French wire technique to make a strung pearl necklace, like one you would find perhaps at a fine jewelry shop, or if you wanted to restring a strand of pearls. We're gonna next level it a little bit today. Maybe not next level, but different level it a little bit today, and create a project that uses a tassel, that uses some suede lace, and uses a little bit of a different finishing technique. So welcome everybody. I see everyone is saying hello for those of you who are joining me live and letting me know where you're from. What I would also love to know is this your first class that you have taken with me, or are you old hat by now? Do you know all of my tips and tricks already and could probably teach the class by yourself? I'm always curious to know if you're new on your journey with me, and also if you are new on your jewelry making journey. So two things that I would love to know from everybody is it your first class with me? And are you a beginner, or are you a seasoned jewelry professional? I see somebody is here from Philadelphia. Welcome. So a little bit of background as we're getting started. I am, as I mentioned, Meredith from Beadalon, and Beadalon is a company that sells lots of different products in Michaels. And we are actually a manufacturer, an American USA manufacturer of wire. And one of our products that we manufacture made out of wire is jewelry wire. But we also carry a ton of tools, lots of different stringing materials, and many of those things are things that I am going to be showing today. So without any further discussion, Kelly, I think it's time to go on over on the overhead camera, and I am going to talk through the materials that we are going to need for our class. So first and foremost, I want to talk about this guy. This is the Beadalon knotter tool. This is the tool that we are going to be using for our class today. It's one of my all-time favorite tools, because I love tools that make a job easier, right? That's what tools are supposed to do for us. They are supposed to make our jobs easier. And the way that this guy works, and I'm going to show it over and over and over again, is just like this. Okay, so with your thumb pushing up on the mechanism, that is how this tool works. Quick reminder for everybody though, this all here, this piece of the tool is very, very sharp. So don't think that just because it is something that I'm using today, that you don't have to take precautions. very, very sharp here on the end. And we're going to talk a lot about that as we go along. So that is the tool that we're going to use today. And I'm just going to kind of take you around the bead mat here and talk about all of the different materials. So what we are going to be stringing on today is this 100% silk bead cord. Now at Michael's, there are a couple of different put-ups. One is this multi-size pack with 2, 4, and you can see there's two spaces here for size 6s. I've used those already. And then here, this, I really like the multicolor pack because you have all of these different options for colors. A couple of things right out of the gate on silk. The larger the number, the thicker the silk. So for silk, we make it easy, right? So not like in artistic wire or German style wire. With silk, the bigger the number, the thicker the silk. So number 6 silk is going to be thicker than number 2 silk. So that's at least we can breathe a sigh of relief. We don't have to keep things or we don't have to reverse things in our heads. 2 small, 6 big. Okay, so silk cord is what we are going to be using for our stringing today. We're also going to need some pearls. I grabbed these, this is kind of like it's not kind of, it is a peacock finish freshwater pearl, but you don't need pearls to do this technique. You could use all different kinds of beads. You could use crystals, you could use glass, you could use, what else could you use? Crystals, glass, gemstones. I mean, anything that you want to knot, you can. You don't have to only use pearls when you are using this technique. I will be demonstrating with these pearls today, and they're these really cool. They're like like this gray and purple and almost like an oily kind of a finish. I don't know. I think they're so pretty. Okay, so we are also going to need some Beadalon bead stringing glue. You'll also know this as Hypo cement. It is the perfect glue to use when you are using silk. I oftentimes have to take out my cheat sheet on what glue to use for what, but just to take all of the guesswork out of it, Hypo cement or this bead stringing glue, that's what we're going to use. That's what you want to always use for the silk. Okay, moving right along. We're also going to need some rings. Now, the instructions that were posted call for jump rings. I'm actually going to be using these closed rings today. You can use any closed rings that you want, but these were just ones that I had in my beading stash from Michael's, and I grabbed those. We're also going to use a filigree focal bead, and these metal beads, I can't get enough of them. They're so pretty and so much fun, and I'm really excited to use this bead as part of our project. So Beadalon Findings Variety Pack. I challenge you to find a project that we have posted, either myself or Sarah, for the Michael's Community Classroom that has not used the Findings Variety Pack. This is indispensable. I reach for this guy all the time. It has jump rings, it has clasps, it has tags, it has just everything you need to quickly finish off your jewelry. So this is the Beadalon Findings Pack. We're going to be using a clasp from in here and I think just one jump ring, but maybe more jump rings. I feel like you can always use more jump rings. And then we are going to be making a tassel out of some suede. So this came out of a variety pack. I think there were 5 different colors, and I grabbed this blue, gray kind of slate color because I thought that it complemented these beads really, really nicely. So a little bonus in class today, we're going to be making our own suede lace tassel. Let's see, have I missed anything? I don't think so. Oh, and then of course we're going to need a ruler, but that's kind of an always in your bead toolkit kind of a thing. We're going to do some measuring with our measuring device. So I think we are ready to get down into it. So I'm going to start my project with size 6 silk, and I'm using this brown silk because I think it would be a nice contrasting color to the beads, and also something that you'll be able to see while I'm doing the knots. A couple of things that are really important to know about the silk, and I know that we have many different skill levels in here, but I'm always amazed at the number of people who don't know that you should always stretch your silk before you work with it. So interestingly, stretching is kind of a misnomer, because what we're actually doing is compressing the twist of this silk. Now, what in the world? What, Meredith? You start going off on these tangents and you use these words, and what are you talking about? So let me clarify what I'm talking about with the silk. And it's just one of those things that you don't really have to worry about or know about, but it's good to know. So this silk, the silk that comes on the cards, is pre-needled. So there's a needle here, and it's actually a piece of silk that is folded over that needle and twisted. So what we are actually doing when we're stretching it is compressing that twist. And if you don't do that before you start on your project, before you embark on your knotting, it will appear to stretch over time. And then you'll get gaps in between your beads, and nobody wants gaps in between their beads, right? So we are going to stretch this out and compress that twist. Now, my favorite way of doing that is actually not what I'm doing right now, but it's a little difficult to show on camera. What I do is I take my silk and I loop it over a doorknob and I lean back. It is easier, or it is less owy on my hands, and it gives a really, really good stretch to the silk. So that's how I condition, or I prepare my silk. So in order to figure out whether or not this size 6 is the right one for my project, the first thing I need to do, and I often do this when I'm in the store, is I bend the beads down to look at the size of the holes. So I can see, because I've been doing this for a pretty long time, that the size of these holes will probably be a size 6 silk. And I'm going to test that theory in just a second. So something to be aware, or a couple of things to be aware of. Oftentimes the beads at Michael's have larger holes. So you might need to use a much thicker material than even silk. You could use a polyester cord, you could use parachute cord. There are lots of different materials in the stringing aisle that will work. But in looking at these holes, I can generally see that a size 6 is probably going to work. So I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to snip these open. And some people like to wet their silk in order to do that kind of conditioning process. I've never done that. It will work and it will be fine, but I have never had the foresight to be able to plan ahead to wait for my silk to dry. And it hasn't mattered. Okay, so when I am, and you can see as I'm doing this, I hope you can see that when I move my silk back and forth, I move it like this. I take it in between my fingers and I move it back and forth so that I don't tangle it. So the bead or the pearl has already passed the first test. And the first test is whether or not the needle will fit through that hole. So yes, check. The thread is not too big or not too thick for this particular pearl. Now, the next thing, the next test is my cord too thin? And if my cord was too thin, then that knot that I tied in the end would not hold that bead in place. But those are the two tests. One, if the needle will fit through your bead and your bead will come to the end here, so your cord is not too thick. But then if your bead will not pop off or pop over that knot, now your cord is not too thin. So now I know I've done my two tests, and the number 6 size silk is the right size for these particular beads. And these are freshwater pearls. And so I believe that they are natural pearls that I'm working with today. But of course, at Michael's, you can find all different kinds of beads. Okay, so I have done that. I now know that number 6 is the perfect size for my project. So I'm going to start with the first step of my instructions. And what that first step is, I'm going to take my ring, and I am just going to attach this with a couple of overhand knots. And I want to try to, this is always a wonderful in between, is, can I get close enough so that everybody can see what I'm doing? Can I stay close enough so that I can see what I'm doing? And can I not bop my camera? So we're always working with those parameters. Okay. So I'm going to take my ring, and I am simply going to tie my silk onto my ring with a couple of overhand knots. Really easy. So this is one of those projects that we're really practicing the knotting technique rather than the starting and the finishing of the pearls. And once again, just for those of you who are joining us a little bit late, there was a class that I did called How to Repurpose Old Jewelry, and Yvette did post the link, but I'm sure she'd be happy to do that again. And what that class went over is the more traditional jewelry store way of restringing pearls. And I definitely encourage you, if you want that look for your jewelry, to go ahead after class today is over, of course, and check out that class. Now, Beadalon bead string and glue, or Hypo cement. It is the same material, just called different things. This is what we are going to use to glue our knots, to seal our knots. And a couple of things about the bead string and glue. You can see this big push here in the middle. Don't do that with your glue. The proper way to get this glue to flow out of the container is, of course, we have to take off the cap. You can see mine is nice and ooey and gooey at the end. But what you want to do is just hold this in your hand and allow the warmth from your hand to create. Do you see how that drop is coming out? You don't need very much here to seal this knot. I am not squeezing this at all. The warmth from my hands is what is causing that glue to start flowing. Okay, so no pushing, because what ends up when you do the squeezing is your glue goes everywhere, and it is very difficult to get that cap back on your glue. So just a little, just right in your hand, no pressure. Just let that warmth from your hand allow the glue to start flowing. Okay, so theoretically in the world, we would allow this glue to dry. And it does not take very long. The GS Hypo cement, or the bead stringing glue, is a pretty quick drying glue. I'm just going to give it a little air from my lips to get that to dry. And I'm going to go ahead and thread 23 pearls onto the cord. And as I'm stringing up these pearls, I'm just going to go back and look at some of these comments that have come through to see if there is anything that I can answer. I really do recommend the GS Hypo cement for the stringing of the pearls. I'm sure there are other glues that might work, but I stand behind my recommendation on using the GS Hypo cement. It is the right glue for the job. Much like the knotting tool is the right tool for the job, the GS Hypo cement is the right glue for the job. So again, if this is a more stylistic approach to learning how to properly string / knot pearls, for a more traditional approach, definitely check out the that other video, the repurposing old jewelry. And for even more information, please feel free to visit the Beadalon website, beadalon.com. We have some great little snippet videos. We have written instructions. It's one of those techniques that it takes a little while to get, but once you get it, you've gotten it. And then you can use the technique for all different kinds of jewelry making, not just pearls. So I am pre-stringing my pearls right now, okay? So the way that the knotter tool works is you actually want to string all of your pearls up first, and then we are going to go back and knot them. And you'll see how helpful the knotter tool is. So I'm just going to count these really quickly. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. And it just so happens that there are the perfect number of pearls on each side of this card. So I want to make sure none of them fall on the floor. I don't know about you guys, but I have a healthy amount of pearls on, or not, well, pearls and beads and seed beads and little wire scraps and all kinds of materials on the floor of my studio. Okay, so now I have my pearls all strung up, and you'll notice that of course there are no knots in between these pearls. Well, we need to make those knots, right? So we are going to learn how to use the Beadalon knotter tool. So this is, as I showed in the beginning, this is the Beadalon knotter tool. It's kind of an unassuming tool, but again, you have to be really, really careful of this pointy tip here. So let's talk about the parts of the knotter tool. This is the awl, this is the yoke, and this is the pushy part. I'm sure it has a more official name, but I call it the pushy part. And the way that the tool works is you hold it in your dominant hand. So in my case, it's going to be in my right hand. And you do the knotting of the pearls with your left hand. And you use your right hand here to push it up. So, all right, that's a little less instructive than I would like it to be. So let's start at the very beginning and go over how to use this tool. So I'm going to start with my tool down, and I have my I have my ring with my knot. My glue is dry right now, and I'm going to pull my first pearl into shape. Or into place, not into shape, into place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that silk and I'm going to wrap it around 3 of my fingers, and I'm going to drop that pearl down into the middle. Okay. And I'm going to show this 23 more times. So hopefully by the time we got it, we will have gotten it. The way that the tool works is I'm going to move the tool from the left to the right, and I'm going to pick up that silk and I'm going to make an X. Do you see how that's kind of an X right there? And I'm going to take the index finger of my right hand, the one that's holding the tool, and I'm just going to place it to the side, holding on to the awl. I'm not placing it on the pointy part because ouch, but I'm going to put it right on the side, because what that allows me to do is free up my left hand to take my fingers out of that knot and then pull straight up. Okay, I want to try to keep the focus there, but also show that I'm pulling straight up. I'm not pulling to the side. I'm not pulling down. I'm not pulling over. I am pulling straight up. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that silk and I'm going to place it in the center of that awl, right in that little notch there. And this is where the magic happens, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to push up with my thumb. And as I'm pushing up with my thumb, I'm gently pulling toward myself here with my left hand. And what's going to happen is that knot is going to pop off and be right in the right place with no space, no mistakes, no nothing. It's right up against that pearl, which is where you want it to be. And now we're ready to move our next bead into place. Now you can see I'm not putting my tool down, right? I'm keeping it in my hand, which is what allows you to have some nice economies of time when you use this tool and when you do this technique. So again, around 3 fingers through the middle. So all I'm doing here is I'm creating a knot. Okay. I'm going to pick up from left to right, make that X, put my finger right to the side of that awl and pull. Let's all say it together, straight up. Pulling straight up guarantees a nice tight knot. If you go over and around and down and around, it's not going to work out nearly as nicely as if you go straight up. So now I'm going to put this right into the middle of the yoke and push straight up, and I have another knot perfectly placed. Now I'm going to do a bunch up to speed so you can see how quickly, once you get it, once you understand the technique and the rhythm of it, how quickly you can knot up your pearls. A couple more things about the knotting. What were a couple more things? I just had them in my head and then they just went away. Bear with me for 1 second. Now I'm using silk for my knots today, but you could do the same technique with leather. You could do it with, as I mentioned before, polyester cord. You could do it with Beadalon, the Text 210 cord that is great for macrame. That is also fabulous for this technique. You can do this with hemp. Looking around my studio and thinking, like, what are some of the things that we could knot with this? And this is why you pre-string your pearls, so that you can just move the next one into place, keep your tool in your hand, and go through the motions to get everything knotted up appropriately. So we keep on going. And again, because we're using this number 6 silk, we did our test in the beginning to make sure that it wasn't too thick. So our bead was able to go on the needle, and it wasn't too thin because our test knot held the bead in place. So we knew that the we knew that the silk was the right size. So I'm going to do a couple more up to speed, and then I'm going to slow this down again. And we're going to go through the steps one by one by one by one by one. Okay, so and once I get into the motion of it, then sometimes it can really take off. But you can see here, each one of my knots is perfect. I have no wiggle room in between them. Even with these irregularly shaped pearls, the knots still are nice and tight under or next to each of them. All right, so let's now that we've boxed everything up, let's slow everything down again. So one of the things that I always try to do as I'm going along, I'm trying to show it in the camera, but also actually do it, is as you are doing all of those knots, your silk is going to start twisting up on itself. And every so often, I just untwist everything and make sure that it spins out so that it's not going to get tangled. Okay, so you always want to make sure, so there's my knot. You're going to move your next bead or your next pearl into place. So around 3 fingers through the middle. Okay, so really all you're doing is tying the first part of your knot over your 3 fingers. Sometimes you can use 2 fingers. Maybe you want to use 4 fingers. I use 3. Sometimes I use 2, generally 3. And so now you have the beginning of your knot. But what the tool is going to do, you're going to come from left to right. You're going to pick up that silk. So see how it's forming an X? As long as you have that X, you know you've done it right. You're going to put your finger right on the side of the awl, and that allows you to move your left hand and pull. Once again, where do we pull? Straight up. Then we take that silk right into the middle of that yoke. And as I'm pulling gently, I'm not pulling, with a super strong grip, but I'm pulling with some tension down toward myself to the left. And I'm using my thumb to push up and push that bead into place. Okay. So one of the things about pearl knotting is I always say this whenever I'm teaching knotting pearls with the knotter tool, or really any knotting tool that you use, whether it's the Beadalon knotter, whether it's a different type of knotter, and there are several other ones out on the market as well. You will need to do 4 full 16-inch necklaces before you get this. Okay, so the first one, you are going to make a whole bunch of mistakes, and that's okay. I give you permission to make the mistakes. You need to get the rhythm of the tool. You need to figure out the way that everything works. A bunch of mistakes, but no worries. You're gonna either keep that to keep yourself humble, or cut it apart and do it again. Your second attempt will be pretty good because you've gone and you've done a lot of practice, right? You've gone through and done, 60 some odd knots, and you've gotten the feel for your tool. The third one, you will make one mistake and it will be heartbreaking. But by the fourth one, you will have gotten it, and you will clap and jump for joy and say, oh, Meredith said I can do it. And indeed I can. Okay, so we're halfway done, and I'm going to show this a bunch more times. But now that we've done our 23 pearls, we are actually going to we're actually going to add our filigree bead. And again, you can see, and I do this without even thinking now, when I'm moving my silk back and forth, I move it like this, and then I move it back like this. I'm not stretching it or anything. I'm just making sure that it's not going to tangle. So I'm going to take my filigree bead, and sometimes these can be a little tricky to get the needle through because they're A, so big, and B, they have a bunch of different holes, a bunch of different places that the needle can pop out of. But just take your time and go slow and just watch what you're doing. The needle should come out the side really nicely. All right, so I'm putting my filigree bead on, and now what I want to do is I'm actually going to see how back and forth and back and forth. I'm going to put on another ring, because what this ring is going to do, this ring is going to be the ring that that the tassel attaches to. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up through this filigree bead. So once again, just taking a moment, taking my time, going through and making sure that that needle is coming through, and doesn't seem to be going where I want it to go. Oh, Okay, so that's a really good example of the needle coming out the wrong hole in the filigree bead. Just trying to see. Yeah, you guys can see that, no problem. So all I need to do is kind of back that out. And you want to make sure that your needle is coming through the right hole before you start again. And for some reason, my needle is not doing that. So I'm going to offer another tip, which is using your nylon jaw pliers to straighten this out. And you'll notice that I am working all the way the very beginning of my cord because I can generally get about 2 16-inch necklaces from 1 2-meter silk cord. So depending on how you do, you can, you always want to work from your cord, and then you can generally get more than one piece unless you're doing it really, you know, unless you're doing like a lariat or a mala necklace, in which case one is going to do you just fine. All right, so now what I've done is I have gone around that ring and back through that focal bead. And what I want to do is just tie another overhand knot at the top. And you can use the knotter tool for this, or you can just tie an overhand knot. Just be careful because we do have a lot of silk that we're working with. So you just want to make sure that you do it and it doesn't get knotted in a place that you don't want it to be, because one of the challenges that you'll find with the silk is it's very difficult to unknot it. Once it's knotted, it's pretty much done. Okay, so I'm just using the tip of my beading, or my Beadalon bead knotter, my bead nutter, to tie that knot there. And now I'm going to go ahead and string up the same number of pearls on the other side. So hopefully, well, we'll have to double check the count. So I'm just going to string these up really, really quickly. And keep in mind that this class is being recorded. So you won't be able to see the comments, but you will be able to see the class in about probably, you know, about the same time tomorrow. And if you are watching on the replay, please make sure that you subscribe to the Michael's YouTube channel so that you can see all of the videos that all of the amazing makers have done as part of both their live classes and that are, of course, available on the replay as well. It is so incredibly generous of Michael's to make these classes available for free, which is pretty amazing, right? Generally, you would have to pay a lot for classes like this if you went to you know, a bead show, or even took a class at your local bead store. So it's lovely for me to be able to have the opportunity to teach so many classes and to share all of my knowledge and all of my tips and tricks with you all. In the materials that you got when you signed up for this class, or actually if you jump on over to the Michael's site and find this class online, you can find the instructions and the materials list. Yvette, who is here from Beadalon as well, helping out, is posting them. But if you are watching on an iPad or an iPhone, or any phone, not just an i, but a tablet or a mobile device, you unfortunately won't be able to download those instructions, but they are available when they were available to you when you signed up for the class. So I'm just going to do a quick count. 2, 4, let's try that again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. Perfect. Okay. So now we get to do more knotting. And it just works the exact same way on the other side. And before I get started, I'm actually going to just come in here and snip that tail off, my glue has dried enough that I can go ahead and do that, because this tail, it's just going to get in the way as I'm doing the knots on the second side. So I'm going to do a bunch of these up to speed really quickly, and then I'll slow it down one last time. But keep in mind, you can always, in about 24 hours, go back on the Michael's YouTube channel and check and rewatch over and over and slow it down and speed it up and mute it, so you don't have to hear all of my chit chat and all of my comments. This project will also be posted probably about a half an hour after class ends, maybe a little bit longer, on the Beadalon site. And please be sure, if you make this project or any project from the Michael's Community Classroom, please post it on your socials and use the hashtag, 2 hashtags, make it with Michael's and then hashtag Beadalon, because we love seeing what people make. And especially we love seeing what people make from things that we have demonstrated and that we've shown. And you can see, I kind of got a little tangly right there. Just have to take a moment, take a breath, take a beat, make sure that you can untangle everything. And now I'm going to just double check, of course, because I took a pause and my rhythm got off, to make sure that I did a knot here. And so I'm going to move my next one into place. And that's what will happen on your third attempt. You will either skip a knot or do a double knot. But when it happens, you'll know it's coming, and then you'll be ready to start your fourth attempt. And then at that point, you will be all done or all set. You will have learned it. You will have mastered it. And then it's just practice, practice, practice from then on out. All right. So I'm going to do just a bunch, maybe 4 or 5 more, and then I'm going to slow it back down again. And you'll see also, once this part starts getting longer, it can get a little bit fiddly to do your knots. So you just want to take your time and make sure that everything is lining up, that you've done your knots properly. You just need to take your time sometimes. Some techniques are super fast. Other techniques take a little bit more care, and this is one that takes a little bit more care. Additionally, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I would be ever so grateful. I am at Meredith Joy Designs. I love when people follow me. I love following back and seeing what all of you amazing makers out there are making. I am constantly inspired by what I see posted online, and I just love seeing what people make. So please feel free to follow me, to tag me even in something that you've made from one of my classes. That is always appreciated. So your things to remember are hashtag make it with Michael's, hashtag Beadalon, and then if you are feeling like you want to hang out with me a little bit more on the socials, go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Meredith Joy Designs. All right, so I'm going to do one more up to speed, and you can see that really, I mean, I'm chit-chatting my way through this. Once you get it and once you have the rhythm down, it really does go very quickly. But let's slow that down again. So I have moved my pearl into place. I'm coming around my 3 fingers, and I am dropping now this kind of large sum of beads here all the way through the middle. And that is what forms your knot. I'm going to pick up with my awl from left to right. I'm going to hold my finger right here over the awl. Again, I feel like I cannot stress enough, do not touch the pokey part. It is very, very sharp, and it needs to be. So we're going to pull this up and through that center of the yoke, and with gentle pressure, not vice grip pressure, but gentle pressure, I'm pulling it toward me as I am pushing up with my thumb. And if you follow those steps with a little bit of care, you can get a perfect knot every time. So let me finish these up really quickly because we still have to show making our tassel and finishing off our design. So coming over here, finishing up all of these straight up and over. And even I sometimes will do a double knot or skip a knot. And sometimes, nobody's going to know except for you. So, if you don't quite feel like we're cutting apart and restringing your entire design, I give you permission, unless you're going to sell it, of course, in which case I think it should probably be perfect. But it sometimes is okay just to have a little mistake in there. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to mention is, why do we knot in between our pearls? There are a couple of different reasons. The first of which is, I think it just looks nice. Quite frankly, it looks really nice to have these knots in between your pearls. It offsets the pearls. It shows more of the surface area of the pearls. But especially when you are talking about, fine gem store or jewelry store quality pearls, what ends up happening is silk is a natural material. And over time, depending on how hard you are on your jewelry, that material can break, right? It's silk, so silk can break. It's not, steel wire. And so what ends up happening is, if this does break, you're only going to lose maybe at the most one pearl, right? Because if it breaks at the knot, one pearl gets lost, but you will generally have the rest of the necklace that's already all pearled together. It is also it's a professional look, right? You could have a necklace that's strung. Let me just take the one that I'm wearing off really quickly so you can see. These crystal pearls do not have knots in between them. And you can really see the difference in the design element between having knots and knots on your jewelry. The best way, I think, to take care of pearls is to wear them. I think that the oils from your body keeps the nacre of the pearls nice and shiny. And of course, I have lost my third ring. Did anybody see where my third ring went? I had 3, and I have a bead here, and I don't have a third ring, but that is okay because I have access. Knew that was going to happen. I don't think this is just the other rings from that set. And I don't think I have another one that's the same color, but that's okay. We're going to pretend that is the same color. I'm just going to lift this up really quickly and lift this up really quickly. And indeed, my ring is gone. Okay, well, fair enough. It's going to be that kind of a day, I see. Okay, world. I see. Okay, so now all we're going to do is that very same thing that we did in the beginning, which is tie the knot on to, or tie the ring on to our necklace with a knot. And you can see I did not tie a knot here on the end, just to mirror the beginning, because I didn't have an extra knot there in the beginning. If you want to, it's totally fine. It's not going to going to matter at all. But I'm just going to tie an overhand knot here. And that's why the needle is really helpful, because you just thread the needle right through this center there. And then what I like to do to get this nice and tight is put it down on my workspace, use the awl part of the tool, and tighten it up as best I can. Once again, either you can see, I can see, or I don't bop the camera. Two of those three things at any one given time, not all three together. So there we go. I've got the knot. I'm going to bop this up just a little bit. And you do want to make sure that that this knot is as close as possible to that ring. So I'm just going to tie another overhand knot here, tighten that up really nicely. And then once again, I'm going to take my glue, my Beadalon bead stringing glue or Hypo cement, depending on what you have. And I'm not squeezing. I'm just using the warmth from my hand to allow that glue to start running out of the tube. And it will. Sometimes you have to wait a beat, but it will definitely start running. Don't get impatient and squeeze. And eventually, depending on how warm you are, and I'm running kind of hot today. There we go. So with just the warmth from my hand, I am not squeezing at all. I am just using the warmth from my hand to allow that glue to start flowing. Okay. And so now I'm just putting the cap back on and putting that to the side. And then I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to give a little air. And I would, if I were not taking class or teaching class right now, that up. Nobody needs to see that bopping and bopping. I would let this dry a little bit more, but I'm just going to snip that off. And I always see I have all of this thread left. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rewind. What am I going to do? I'm just winding this around the card because I have a whole extra brace or either bracelet or necklace left. I can use this silk again. This is not a one and done. And I keep it on the card so I know that that it's a number 6 size silk. So this just goes back into my beading materials. And now what I'm ready to do is finish up my necklace. So I have here the center part and I have the top part, and we are going to very quickly make a tassel. So to do that, I'm going to cut 5 times of 8 inches of this suede lace. You could use leather cord, you could use, there's all different kinds of materials that you can use, but I'm feeling suede lace today. So I'm going to do 5 times 8 inches. I'm just measuring it out, simple as can be. And generally I'm a measure once and then just cut against whatever the next thing is. So I'm going to keep going. So I've got 3 and 4, and I think 5 is going to be perfect for my tassel. I might have to do a little trimming. It seems like it might be a little bit long for what I'm trying to do, but see. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm actually going to attach this directly to this ring here that I have already strung on with my focal bead. There are several different ways that you can do this tassel. This is the one that I'm going to show today. So I think I can just kind of shove all of these suede pieces through the center here and then pull them down so that they're even. So let's see, I want to make sure that they're even on top and even on the bottom, and got hair in there. It's one of the, and now I'm going to assess, is my tassel tassel-y enough, Or do I want to add, maybe I want to add another piece. That is a completely fair assessment. My tassel is not tassely enough for me. It's not kind of full enough. So I'm going to cut another piece of this 8-inch cord, and I'm going to pull that in here. Likewise, if it's too tassely, you might want to take one out. You know, maybe you like a thicker tassel, maybe you like a thinner tassel, but I think that this one is pretty good for now. So we are almost ready. Now I'm going to take, this is 22 gauge artistic wire. You can use German style wire if you have that, but you definitely want it to be a soft copper core wire. And if those words are confusing to you, I highly recommend going back and rewatching the Get Wired and the, what is the other one? It's the Get Wired, and there's another kind of masterclass that I did on wire and all about wire and different kinds of wire and different gauges and what it all means. Okay, so now what I want to do is I took a 4-inch piece of 22 gauge wire, and I'm just going to wrap this around. It could be neat, it could be messy. Mine's going to be neat, but you might try a different color wire. You might want to use a different style of wire. And all I'm going to do is take my my pliers and just kind of tuck this in underneath. Let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm going to tuck this around and underneath. She keeps saying it, but she's not doing it. There we go. Just to tuck that end in. We don't really need to see it. I'm going to do the same thing and try to tuck this end in up here as well. Maybe I wanted to use, if you want your wrap to be a little bit thicker, you can go ahead and use more wire. I don't think I would recommend using any less wire. Wrap is not cooperating with me very well. I just want to get everything tucked in. And once I have that tucked in, I'm actually going to come in here and snip it off. Okay, so now I have my tassel. Well, that's kind of an octopusy looking tassel, right? It's not great. So I think what I want to do is trim this up. And if your tassel ends, especially the suede, or if you make your tassel with silk, if it's a little too flingy, what you can do is take a wet paper towel, or I'm sorry, not a wet paper towel, a damp paper towel, very damp, like not very wet at all, and just hold it over here and just get a little bit of dampness into that suede. And then as it dries, these guys will stop their flinging. They're pretty flingy right now, right? Unless you want flingy, maybe octopus is what you're going for. All right, we're not quite done yet though. We still need to do this little top part right here. So for the top part, we can do this in a couple of different ways. You can add a clasp, but actually what I think I want to do, I think I want this to be an over the head necklace. So right now it is 16 inches, and I want it to be 16, 20, 24 inches. So I am going to add the suede lace in enough length so that I can make this an over the head necklace. And honestly, the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to tie a knot here. There are so many different ways that you can attach things. I could use this very same technique of the wire here. But today I'm just going to tie a knot, and I might even let that tail stay there. Just kind of feeling that today. All right, so now nobody said that there would be math involved, except there's always math involved. So 16, if I want it to be 16, so I want to add another 8 inches. So I'm going to add from here, I'm going to add 8 inches and then an extra say 3 for my knot. And then I'm going to snip this off. And you can see I am not that precise when it comes to my measuring. I know a lot of people really like precise measurements. I am not that person. And I think that it is okay to not be super precise in your measurements all the time. Really, what I probably would have done if I were making this for me is just put it right over my neck and seeing kind of where I want that tassel to lay. Do I want it to lay right on my décolletage? Do I want it to lay more, longer toward my belly? And then just cut the cord right on my body. And so that's something that you can really think about is, just using yourself or a mannequin as a guide for how you want your jewelry to look. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm gonna kind of arrange it in a pleasing way down here, and then I'm gonna try it on and see how I did with the length. Whenever I can make a project that I don't need to add a clasp for, that's kind of a win for me, right? So Kelly, let's go ahead and see if I did it, if I got it. So, okay, so it definitely fits over my head. So we've got that going for us. And it's a little long for the camera, but I think that turned out really nice. It's a nice length. If I was feeling a little more bohemian, I might do it, super, super long, but I am definitely going to go back and get those tassels to chill out a little bit because they're a little too flingy for me. But I don't know, maybe I'm feeling a little flingy today. Who knows? Okay, so in conclusion, thank you so very much for joining me for class today. I am Meredith Roddy for Beadalon and Artistic Wire. This class will be available again for watching in about 24 to 48 hours. Please make the project, use hashtag make it with Michaels and hashtag Beadalon when you post it on your socials. And if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and follow me as well. You never know what I might be posting, a little behind the scenes stuff about Beadalon or about what I'm making for upcoming classes. Thank you all so, so much for joining me, for hanging out for a full hour for class today. You can catch the Beadalon classes on the Michaels Community Classroom on Wednesdays at 2:00 Eastern time, and most Saturdays as well at 2:00. And we have a lot of really great classes coming up. So head on over to the Michaels Community Classroom sign up page and sign up for classes with me, sign up for classes with Sarah Lovecraft, and let us know if you have any questions. And again, thanks for joining me. And until next time, happy beading.